Hi, guys. Good evening. Welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host, Eddie, and in tonight's video, I will be doing my episode review for the X-Files, episode 5, Babylon. Before I begin, of course, like all my episode review videos, I know I keep repeating myself, but good information is worth repeating twice. If you are not caught up on the X-Files and you've not seen the most recent episode, do not keep watching or listening to this video as I will be going into spoilers. So if you haven't caught up, go ahead, watch it right now, and then come back and tune in and listen to my recap later. Okay, so you have been warned. That being said, very interesting episode. It was actually really good, and it was funny, but it was funny, and it's not like it was meant to be ha 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 ha, slap on the knee, well, that's a good one. It wasn't meant to be obvious comedy. I would say it had subtle humor to it. The little like Scully and Mulder poking fun at each other, giving each other shit for their beliefs and stuff like that, and then their younger counterparts coming in, and the girl sounding and looking almost exactly like Scully, and the guy with the attitude and the behavior of Mulder, which was pretty cool. And then even Scully points out to Mulder later, she calls him Miller, and it was a very interesting episode, the way it was handled. And at first, I felt like, wow, they're touching on the subject of young Muslim men being brainwashed to carry out terroristic acts. I'm like, wow, this seems kind of touchy subject to do an X-Files episode about. But then again, it was relevant to recent happenings and going ons in the world. So I could see why they went with that storyline. But it seemed a bit edgy at first. But then when they started to get into the myth of it and the weird paranormal stuff behind their reason for it, that's what my focus was drawn towards. They're trying to reach out to this comatose terrorist to find out if there were other upcoming attacks that they needed to know about in Texas, of all places. And this episode did also captured the racism that a lot of people feel towards immigrants, towards Muslims, and so it was an extremely relevant episode to what's been happening in society lately. And I'm glad they went in that direction, because that kind of stuff needs to be addressed and talked about, and people can't just brush it off or say whatever to it. And I'm glad that the X-Files did that they touched on recent problems America and the world were going through, and they were able to use that for a storyline. And I also mostly enjoyed the reverse team ups, like Mulder and the younger female FBI agent Einstein, who happened to be like a distant descendant of Albert Einstein, apparently, and then Scully teaming up with the younger guy, Agent Miller. And it was like you had a skeptic and a believer working together, and a skeptic and a believer working together, because like Mulder and Scully, the pair of those agents, one was a believer and one was a skeptic, and you can guess which was which throughout the whole episode, and it was great. It was also a lot of fun to see Mulder's drug-induced hallucination, where he imagines that he goes out to a country bar, and he's wearing like country cowboy attire, and he's dancing with boots and a opened button shirt and a cowboy hat, and sure enough, who's there? The lone gunmen have reappeared once again. I was wondering how they were going to pull that off, because I saw photos and advertisements, promos saying that the lone gunmen will appear in the next episode of the X-Files, and they're all wearing these cowboy hats. I'm like, I wonder why they're looking like they're dressed up as cowboys, why they're wearing this, country attire or clothing and whatnot. And I also thought, didn't the lone gunman die in the final season of the X-Files? And if so, does that mean that this is a complete reboot where they're actually still alive? Or how are they going to pull this off? And sure enough, when I realized, Mulder was definitely in a drug-induced hallucination, where he saw Skinner, he saw the cigarette-smoking man, he saw the lone gunman. I'm like, so they're all hallucinations. That makes sense. That's how they're able to get away with it. But it was probably an awesome moment for the diehard X-File fans, especially those who really enjoyed the characters like the Lone Gunman. It was just nice to see him one more time on the TV screen for the first time in many, many years. So I think people really enjoyed that and responded well to it, because I've heard good things about this episode, and I just watched it a few minutes ago, and I really, really liked it. I liked how they had the two younger versions of the agents who were like aspiring to become the next generation of the X-Files agents. The girl was like Scully, the guy was like Mulder, and just their mannerisms, their attitude about everything. It was great. It was a good episode where there was a lot of excellent character chemistry with old and new characters. Like they really bounced off of one another in the room. Like when all four of them were in the room when they all first met each other in Mulder's office, and they're all just bouncing back and forth with their quick wit and their observations and stuff like that. That was extremely enjoyable to watch. Seeing characters like that interact with each other on the screen like that. It was really something. And this episode overall was very good. It wasn't a Monster of the Week episode, and not that I was expecting it to be, but I was hoping to see some kind of weird mythological theme to it, I guess. And sure enough, it was about trying to reach a comatose patient to find out if there was going to be a future upcoming terrorist attack and if they could prevent it. And fortunately, they did. The guy spoke to Mulder in Arabic, and they were able to find this terrorist cell in this Texas town, and they were able to stop them. And things worked out in the end, and Mulder and Scully had a heart to heart at the end of the episode, like they always used to do in the original show. After the case was solved, or they were not really celebrating but had a sigh of relief that it was all over. They'd have a heart to heart about what they just experienced. And the same thing happened with the new younger agents. It's like they had a heart to heart about what they've both experienced, and what they think may come for them next. So what I'm interested to see is if this miniseries does well enough, if instead of bringing back David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, these new characters, the new actors, will become the next generation for agents of the X-Files. If these two will replace Scully and Mulder at the end of the miniseries, because the miniseries finale is next week, next Monday, and I think that one we will definitely be getting a lot more of a cigarette smoking man, since we only saw him briefly in the pilot episode, and then we saw him in this episode in Mulder's hallucination. I have a pretty strong feeling we're definitely going to see him in the miniseries finale. So stay tuned for that episode coming up next Monday on Fox. Check your local listings for local times and whatnot. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here on the EdWord for all of your episode review and recap needs. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the X-Files as I did. Thanks again for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content and videos and more review videos. What did you guys think of this episode of the X-Files? What are your thoughts and opinions? Please feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear from everybody. I really value and encourage your input and your opinions about stuff like this. So please feel free to sound off down below. All right, guys, thanks again for stopping by. Have a great rest of the night. And, of course, until next time, the truth is still out there.